Welcome everybody to the REDX. That's not the REDX show, the REDX show, where we bring you amazing people to show you amazing things that you can do in the marketplace. So welcome everybody that's here today. Thank you for following us. We know that normally we're an hour off from our normal time, so I hope you got the message, and that's okay. We'll go back to our normal time starting on Friday at 1:30 p.m. So this is a show, if this is your first time here, this is a show where we're bringing people who have found massive success in different areas of real estate. We bring them to you because we believe that there's opportunity no matter what's going on. We believe that real estate doesn't have to be, it is hard. It doesn't have to be unpredictable. It doesn't have to be unstable. And so we bring people to you to help you figure out how to create stability, find opportunity in whatever market, whatever industry, whatever's going on, economic downturn, COVID, pandemic, everything that's going on. So some of you come for accountability and structure and routine, and we're going to try to break down some really important things for you today that will help you to find more stability and to create more opportunity in your business. So let's get started. If we can just get a tech check from, if you're listening, please go ahead and type in, tell us where you're from. We'd love to engage with you throughout this thing. I'm going to pull up right now the chat so I can make sure I can answer your questions as they come in. And as soon as I do that, then I'm going to introduce our amazing guest today. Okay, I'm up. Who do I've got? All right, Michael, Amanda, Natalie, Jimmy. People are coming in. Thank you. Thank you for being here and listening. And man, we've got a great conversation to happen today. Yeah, thanks Mark and Ron and Ellie coming in. So this is great. If you haven't already, grab a pad of paper, because my guest today, if you haven't already listened to her, every time she talks about her business, there's gold in what she says. And we're going to talk about, I'm just going to give you a heads up, a sneak peek, if you will. We're going to talk about kind of four main things. We're going to try to get through them all today. We're going to, well, three main things. We're going to talk about lead stack and what leads you should be calling and what order and why. We're going to talk about lead follow-up, because really money is made in the lead follow-up, and that's kind of an important thing. And we're going to talk about working with investors in today's market, which is a massive opportunity. So be thinking about questions you might have as it relates to those topics, even throw them in there. We may not catch them all, but we'll continue the conversation in our forum and our Facebook group afterwards. My guest today, and I'm going to let her introduce. She's been on the show before. We have blogs written about her. We joked in the pre-show that she's kind of becoming, the poster child for REDX, and rightly so. I think she has this amazing story and amazing success. I've known you now for a very long time, but everybody give a big welcome to Paula Burlison out of Las Vegas. Welcome, Paula.
Hey, thanks for having me, Curtis. I'm happy to be here.
So I think the best thing about this show is being able to connect with a human despite all of the quarantine and face masks and everything going on. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in quite a while, because we usually connect at conferences.
Yeah, I know. And there hasn't been too many of those, and I miss them terribly. It's interesting. We don't realize until something like this happens that, there's so much connection between people through eye contact and handshakes and hugs and smiles. We're not getting that interaction right now. And it can break you if you're not careful.
Yeah. Well, people are replacing it with scrolling Facebook and getting those dopamine hits, and it's not the same. It's not a real connection. And I think right now most of my friends are characters on Netflix shows from Netflix, So yeah, but either way, it's good to have this forum to connect with you. Will you please just give a recap and tell the audience a little bit about you, what market you're in? I'd love for you to tell me some of the big awards you've won. I know there's many, all of those things. Just give a quick introduction of who you are and what you're all about.
Okay, sure. I'm Paula Burlison, and I work in fabulous Las Vegas. I cover Las Vegas, Henderson, Summerlin, North Las Vegas, Boulder City, some of the outlining bedroom communities of Las Vegas. I've been here for 26 years, moved here many, many years ago. And then I've been in the business. Curtis, is going to blow you away. I just celebrated in May my 19th year in the business. So absolutely, time is flying when you're having fun. So and helping people, so it's really an honor to almost be 2 decades in the business. It's been a crazy wild ride, and it's been a lot of fun. I've had the honor of I just got the honor of being voted America's Best in the America's Best agents, and that's where they take 1.4 million agents from across the country, and I'm in the top 1% there. So that was super cool. I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So, I know. I was the #1 agent at Coldwell Banker here in Las Vegas last year with a GCI of 575,000. That changed my life with my family and everything else. And I also have some really great, opportunities with my SOI and my customer service. I won a customer service award a couple of years ago. For having 5-star service, the most number of reviews in 1 year. So that was a really fantastic opportunity, but just a great opportunity to be out there and helping people.
It's amazing. So I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Is everybody else getting feedback? If not, I can deal with it. But if you could put make a comment in the comments if you're getting echoes or feedback there. Okay.
Is it just Curtis?
Okay, just me. Well, Paula, I told you before the show that I wanted people to get to know you at a deeper level since you've been on the show a few times, and I, we've been at dinner with groups of people, and I've heard some of these stories, and I would love for you to share some of those, but some of it starts with why real estate. 19 years ago. What happened there that you got into real estate? Why do you stay after 19 years? I mean, in 19 years, you've seen, quite a lot in the economy and different strategies, and,
I've learned a lot.
Yeah. And so why do you stay? I mean, yeah, tell us why.
Well, to be honest with you and with everybody else, I came from very meager beginnings. My mom, who passed away last year, we lived in a trailer in the South and, outside of Nashville, Tennessee. And, I was challenged as a child, and I didn't even graduate high school. I stepped out of high school in the 10th grade and walked across the street, got my GED, and started going to college. So that is kind of like where it started. Like every good Nashville girl, I married a musician my first time around, and we traveled a lot. And when we traveled, I couldn't have a stable position, so I was always a waitress or a receptionist or something like that. So when I got to Las Vegas, I kind of put my foot down, and I said, we've been traveling for 5 years, and I just kind of want to do something for myself. And so then I went back to school and became a paramedic. And I was a paramedic here in the Las Vegas Valley for 5 years. I absolutely loved it. It was my dream job. I worked 4 12-hour shifts a week, sometimes 5, working from 7 at night to 7 in the morning. So the really exciting time to be working that shift. And then in May 25th of 2000, I woke up and I could no longer feel my left leg. And unbeknownst to me, I had some back pain for the last few weeks, but what I didn't know is that I had spinal cancer. And it was a very challenging time in my life. It challenged me personally. It challenged me emotionally. It challenged my marriage. Unfortunately, my marriage did not survive that experience. The short part of it is that during my recovery, I just bought a house about 6 months before that. And my realtor was a Brian Buffini realtor, and she was amazing. And she came to the door and she sees me, and I'm 26 years old, and I have a turtle brace on, and I'm walking with a walker, and she's like, "What the heck is going on?" I've got, all of these medical devices, and she's like, "What the heck?" And I said, I told her what happened, and she says, you should really go into real estate. You'd be really a good salesperson. And I thought to myself, I can't sell a sandwich to a hungry man. Like, I don't know the first thing about selling anything at all, right? So, but that kind of resonated with me. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I didn't have a lot of options. Unfortunately, when you have a bachelor's degree in paramedic medicine, there's not much you can do other than be a paramedic or go into teaching, which was going to pay me half of what I was making, before. So I didn't even know what it meant to be a realtor. I didn't even know what it meant, like what the job was, right? So I started going to school. I went to the 4 weeks of school and took my test. And then I went to, I got my license, and I was like, what do I do now?
At least you asked yourself that question in the first few weeks instead of years into it, like we see some agents.
Well, if truth be told, I was told in real estate school that if we dressed professionally and showed up on a regular basis, that we would make, good money. And that's what they tell you. They teach you that in real estate school. So I showed up every day and couldn't understand. Like, I kept checking my drawers for checks, and there was none in there. And I just couldn't figure out why I wasn't successful. I was doing open houses. I was, I was taking floor time. I was, sending thank you cards. I was giving out my card to everybody I could think of at the grocery store, and it just wasn't jiving. I mean, if you guys really want to know, I only did 2 deals my first year in the business.
I think that's common. I don't think, I think that's what a lot of people do in their first year, if that.
Yeah. So then I was lucky enough to get invited to a Mike Ferry organization retreat. And at the time I was like, oh, that guy, and he's so rude. And this was, you got to remember, this was in 2000. He's much, more tolerable now. But at any point, I started going to those retreats, meeting people, started to seeing a new, different way. I got introduced to REDX, not at the retreat, but through that process. And, that was, I don't know, check my account. It had to be like 15 years I've been with REDX.
Yeah, probably 15 years. So, so if you were at 2 transactions, you finally go, you see this other way, you say that other way, and what was that other way? I'm assuming it was prospecting.
Prospecting. It's prospecting, and I was like, okay, so I just have to learn what to say, and I have to call people, and I have to ask for business. And that's the first step, right? And then, as you know, there's, so many more things that go with it, perfecting your presentation, using a CAM presentation, all those pre-qualifying, all those great skills that you learn. But it really came down to the first step of just being able to generate leads and finding people who needed my help.
Right. That's amazing. So you've been prospecting for 15 years. What percentage of your business right now is, so just to clarify for you and everyone else, we REDX do not believe that prospecting equals cold calling. We believe prospecting is the act of actively going out and trying to find business. The word comes from people who are digging for gold, right? You're prospecting. So for us, and you even mentioned your sphere of influence, your SOI, and you won an award there. And I think there's this false belief in the industry that you're either Brian Buffini or you're Mike Ferry, right? You either only do referrals or you only, grind cold calling all day long. which you and I know is not true. You have to have a good mix. I mean, you could even go so far as to say each different method of finding business is a different pillar of income in your business, which is really important to the stability of your business. So tell us that process. I mean, you didn't have probably a sphere of influence that you were getting many deals from 19 years ago, but after 19 years in the business, you have a few past customers. So what percentage of your business comes from cold calling or that type of prospecting versus your sphere of influence and some of your other prospecting?
So just to be clear, I never call it cold calling. I mean, it truly is. I'm looking for somebody who I'm prospecting, and I'm looking for someone who needs my help, and that's okay. I'm adding value to the community. If I'm calling with just listed script or an expired script or whatever, I'm bringing value to the table and giving people the opportunity to work with me. I think that's a mindset that people don't understand.
What a great mindset.
I know, it sounds so pompous.
Have a negative.
I mean, I'm Kanye West, but you know. I mean.
Okay, so keep going. I mean, so calling, people you don't know versus calling people you do know.
Right. So here's the thing. Prospecting is I consider prospecting even calling the people that I do know. I mean, I've sold over 600 homes in my career. And I have a past client database of about 600 people, and I call 10 of them a day routinely and prospect them. And because of that, I get 60% of my business from my SOI. So a lot of people don't realize that there's the big piece of the business after you've been in the business for a long time is your sphere of influence. I mean, that's my fan club. Like, they love talking to me and making sure that I get business. And so it's really a pleasure to be able to serve that part of the community. Now, the other people that I call are expired listings, and this is what I'm props to REDX, and you guys built a platform where we can just have every kind of lead at our fingertips. And that's what's so cool about it, right? So those people that are expireds, and they make up about 12 to 15% of my business, depending on where the market is. So I call them first thing in the morning, and I call them a couple times during my prospecting routine. The other ones that I call are just listed, just sold, non-owner occupied, and my SOI, just listed, just sold. I mean, those are the people that I call.
So while we're talking about, I want to come back to that, because that's kind of one of the main topics, is the lead stack of who you call in what order. But before that, I want to just bring up something. I think what we see often is a new agent gets into the marketplace, and they come to someone like you, Paula, and they say, hey, what are you doing to get all your business? And they hear 60% of my business comes from my sphere of influence. And they go, okay, I'm going to start working my sphere. When they don't realize that your sphere is made up of 600 past customers.
Right.
And so thinking back, I mean, what would be the advice in where you should prospect to someone new or that doesn't have that many past clients or a great sphere of influence? I mean, pretend you move to a new market, and how would things be different, I guess is my question.
So the key to and I get this question a lot, and with new agents, and I always suggest that they do just listed, just solds, and I'll even do the just listed, just solds of the people in your office. Talk to the agents that are there, and or talk to your broker and find out if they're okay with you calling around other agents' listings if you don't have any for yourself. I mean, 90% of the time they're going to say yes, because they're getting the business, right? So, and let's just be honest, the other agents are not doing it. So, and no one's going to remember. That's the other thing. We're so important that people are going to, you called me 6 weeks ago. No, they're not going to remember. So yeah, so just listed, just sold are absolutely a gold mine, but they take a certain amount of perseverance in order to do them, because you have to make a lot of contacts to find someone who really wants to buy or sell. But the good news is that when you do, there's very little competition. They think you're, sent from heaven and directly, and that, it's a sign that you called today. And so it's really usually a very easy, transaction to be able to get that lead and that trend in that follow up.
Right.
Open houses have their place, but the bottom line is that you have to do them aggressively. You have to call around the neighborhood, do just listed, just sold. Can't do them right now, but that's okay. And then for sale by owners, when I first got into the business, I loved calling for sale by owners. They were my favorite source. And there's very little rejection. They'll always invite you over to come over and look at their house. A buyer. You just have to learn the right questions to ask them to find out whether or not they're motivated to sell and if they truly have a need. And then this is my advice. Don't go over there with your book of stuff, of things to share with them. Just go over there with a list of things that they can market their home and, be a point of service and be there to help them. I mean, I've even let for sale by owners borrow my open house signs. I've made flyers for them, because when they're ready, they're going to call you.
Yeah, that's great. So just listed, just sold. I mean, we're getting we've gotten multiple questions on each of the different platforms where people can post comments here about sending postcards. Because you keep saying calling, just listed, just sold, calling. Do you do postcards?
I do, but I do. I used to have, when we were door knocking, I used to have a series of postcards that I did. But right now, we'll send a just listed postcard. We'll send a card when it goes in, when it sells. So we'll send two. But those cards are useless unless you're going to call and follow up. What's great about sending the card is that you can actually say, hey, Curtis, I wanted to let you know that I sent you a card sharing with you some great news about what's going on in the market. It gives you a reason to call, right? What? Otherwise, I mean, let's be honest. Most of that, and it's very expensive. That's the other thing.
So you wouldn't do. So your advice to everybody, just for the people asking questions about postcards, postcards is not a replacement for making the calls. It's a supplement to it. Okay.
And that's only if you really have the budget for it. I mean, honestly, it's an expensive endeavor, and the return is not that great. Look, this phone makes me money, and it costs me very little money it costs me $147 a month. Okay. So don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah, that's great advice. I love that it gives people a reason to call, because as we have trained people and talked to people, confidence comes from knowing what to say. And a lot of the hesitancy to make a phone call is not knowing what to say, a reason to call. So go back, tell me if you call and say, hey, I sent you some great information. What if they respond, I didn't see it? What do you say?
Well, that's okay. I say, Curtis, that's okay. I know you probably get a lot of mail. And so I'm just wanting to share with you, I just sold a home right down the street at 213 Penrose. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it sold for $299,000. The good news is that when one home sells, usually 2 more sell right away. So just curious, Curtis, when do you plan on moving?
That's a good one. And either way, you transition into that same script, but that reason, right. I sent you some information, and sometimes, just for people wondering, postcards is also really hard to track the way a phone call can, all the way to conversion, because sometimes you don't know the impact. They go, oh, Paula, that sounds familiar, but they don't really associate it with the postcard that they got. But the name sounds familiar. The information may sound familiar. and it may help you give that edge. But again, to your point, Paul, it's not necessary. It's a supplement, not a replacement. You know, I just know.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, you know what you can do? You can say that I sent you some information and never send the postcard. They're not going to challenge you.
Did you get my postcard? You didn't. Okay. All right. Gold
I'm
nugget
sure you get a
number
lot
one.
of mail.
Okay, so those, I love that advice. I think that's great. Some people try to jump in with expireds. Expireds is a harder. I would say it's harder. You deal with more heightened emotions. I mean, people sometimes are really upset, not just because their home didn't sell, but also more agents are calling those people at that time. And if you want to really hone some skills, calling neighborhoods and just listed, calling around recently listed or recently sold properties is a great way to hone some skills before you jump into some of those other lead types.
Right, and build your confidence, because when you call expireds, it's a whole different mindset. And I could talk all day about expireds, calling expireds, but you have to realize, like, they put their house on the market for a reason. They went through the process. They keep it clean every day. They do all the things they need to do. And then they're, did you go somewhere? There you are. And then, it didn't sell. So, I mean, they're disappointed, rightfully so. And now they have all these agents calling and telling them how awesome the agent is and how great they are. And they don't care. They wanted to sell their house, right? So we have to we have to flip the script on that. We have to come at them with, some empathy. And for me, I always say that when I'm calling expireds, I'm in the business of reselling them on hope, and I've got to resell them on the fact that we can get their home sold. And what was their original position? Like, what was the point of them selling their house? Listen, it's 90% of the time not about the money, no matter what they say. It is about where they're going and who's waiting for them. It's about Florida so they can be with their grandkids. It's about downsizing. It's about buying a bigger house because there's a new baby on the way. There's a lot more going on, and we just have to be willing to ask those questions.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. See, now I am getting an echo.
No one's getting the echo but you, Curtis.
It's always me. I'm usually the problem, Paula. Paula, tell us. Let's just get back into talk to me about your lead stack. We've gone through a few of those. What leads do you call when you prospect, and in what order, and why?
Okay, so I call my expired listings at 8:01. I just call the brand new ones. Okay, so see who I can get there, and that usually takes 15 minutes, depending on your market, how many we have. I have maybe 12 a day that are new. The next people that I call are actually my leads, like really hot leads that I have. So I'll call them next. Then I'll call a few non-owner occupieds. My business right now specifically is really heavy in the non-owner occupied market. And then I have some fun calling my sphere of influence. So I call 10 of my sphere of influence and talk to them, and those are always really fun calls. And then if I have some extra time where I need to make up some contacts, then I do my just listed, just solds.
So you start at 8:01,
Mm-hmm.
and you're calling new expireds. Okay. Why in that order? Is there a priority? I mean, is this just your routine, or is there strategy to the order?
There's strategy for sure. I mean, you got to call the new expireds first thing, right? And to try to be as try to get them before they take their phone off the hook. I mean, let's be honest. So you try to get them early. And then my next ones I call my leads, because they're already people that have expressed interest in doing business with me, and I need that pump up after talking to, you know, a few grumpy expireds, right? So find out, you know, what they're up to and how I can help, and, you know, where they are in their process. The non-owner occupieds, these are generally business people anyway, and so catching them early is important. So it's usually just about 8:30, 8:45 when I'm calling my leads. And then I'll go back and I'll call the old expired sometimes, like the last week's expireds, or even the last 3 week expireds. And then, because I've, you know, been talking to a lot of grumpy people, I'll call my sphere of influence, and they always make me feel like, you know, like I'm a rock star. And then I'll do some just listed, just sold calls. And in my schedule, I prospect from 8 to 8:50, and then I take a 10-minute break, and then I prospect from 9 to 9:50, and I take a 10-minute break, and then I prospect from 10 to 10:50. And then I take, you know, I just finish at 11 o'clock, and, you know, get a snack, and, you know, go out to my day. You know, getting it done early is really important.
Okay, so I'm sure is for the mental break as much
Yeah.
a potty break, right? I mean, calling for 50 minutes is intense.
It can be, it really can be, but sometimes it can be really boring depending on, you know, how many you're getting, or, you know, and it's hard to stay focused. And so it's important. So get yourself a glass of water, take a, you know, walk, text a friend. But like for me, like I'm highly, distractible. So I have to set myself a little timer. And so I won't say her name because she'll know I'm talking to her, but I have a device on my desk, and I tell her to set a 10-minute, you know, timer. And so that way she tells me, you know, the timer goes off and I have to go, okay, it's time to get back to work, you know. So it's important, because otherwise I'll be making banana bread or something. I mean, I'll wander the earth. Like I'm not the perfect prospector if I'm not, you know, if I don't keep myself accountable and on schedule. The other thing I do is I prospect with other people on different hangouts and Zoom meetings, which is a really cool experience, because you get the opportunity to basically have the accountability, you know, hear what other people are saying, and be able to, you know, when you have a bad call or something happens, be able to bounce something off of them when you know, when it didn't go right. Or they cheer you on when you make the appointment. Like, what's better than that?
That's amazing. So let me play it back though, because I, you know, again, I said at the beginning, I learn stuff every time I talk to you. It sounds like you know, for people listening, the lead stack, Paula has baked in things into your lead stack for motivation and mindset, right? I mean, the calling with other people, strategic breaks, even the order that you do, because you talk to grumpy expireds, and now I want to talk to people who lift me up, because it's hard to go from grumpy expireds to a different one. So let's just talk about that. I know it's important to you also, so let's just talk about that for a minute. I mean, all of this is about mindset and motivation, and I don't even know what the question is. I mean, what advice do you have for everybody who's looking at this going, you know, I could use some, you know, mindset and motivation. You know, what do you tell them?
Your mindset is where is the garden that your business grows out of, and whatever you think about is what's going to happen. And it takes a long time to reprogram your mind. And if you have you know, a lot of garbage in your mindset, it's going to affect how you think, and it's going to affect the results that you get. I'm a Facebook junkie, okay? but I am not allowed. I'm not on Facebook anytime before noon. I stopped watching the news over a decade ago. I don't watch any media news. And I read the business news, and I check my stocks in the morning, and that's about it. Like I keep my mornings like so tightly bound that I don't have time to do anything before getting on the phone other than what's in my schedule. So again, going back to that being distracted. During my prospecting, I have a playlist that I've created of my own personal favorite inspirational songs. That ranging from like, you know, the script to Eminem, like it could be anything, whatever you find inspirational to you. And I have that playing in the background, or sometimes I'll have like my coaches, you know, speaking or something like that in the background. So having stuff in the background helps. Having good books to read or to listen to during your prospecting is a great idea. I mean, Audible is the best thing that's ever come out in the whole world. One of those 10-minute breaks, the one between 8:50 and 9 o'clock, I actually do 10 minutes of meditation. And so, and just kind of clear my mind. And that's just, you know, just close your eyes and have 10 minutes of rest, and just, you know, rest. And so there's a lot of ways for you to be able to change it. I think that it's really important. What you, just like, you know, if we feed ourselves Cheetos and pizza, it's delicious at the time, but it, you know, affects how we are able to perform and how our clothes fit.
You just described my COVID diet.
Well, I win at COVID-19. I got all 19 points. So, so I'm working on sending them back right now. So, but you know, I mean, if you watch the news and if you're on social media and if you have a lot of that input that's, you know, negative or garbage or just, you know, not positive. I mean, here's the thing. It doesn't have to be negative to affect you. It just has to be not positive, you know, and it can change how your mindset is. So that would be, those are some of the things that I think about every day.
Oh, that's really awesome. Well, look, I'm sure we could talk for the whole hour on just mindset, even just mindset around each of the leads. But I already know we'll compile a list of everything you just went through. And you know, I'm pretty sure the best quote already today was, your mindset is the garden from which your business grows. I didn't know you were so poetic, Paula. That's
I'm a poet and didn't know it.
Yeah, that's right. That's an infographic right there. So let's talk about lead follow-up, because you and I know all of these calls are great, but how many of them are converting into commissions on the first phone call that you have with them?
I mean, for me, everybody's different. I mean, there's agents that are better at closing than I am. You know, I'm stellar at lead follow-up. So, so I just keep it really simple. I mean, I have my 3x5, and I this with me all the time. So it's in my purse or my Cache case or whatever. And if I have an extra few minutes, I'll call them. But I call them first thing in the morning. Ask them 2 questions. I just say, hey, Curtis, it's Paula from Coldwell Banker, your real estate agent. Just calling to find out when you're selling your home and I can help. And, you know, I'll call them every other day. And, you know, and from everybody different, right, Curtis? But for me, if they're ready to list or they're ready to list 30 days, then I'll keep following up with them. If they're not, then they go in my other toolkit with TrackN. So and then go on.
What is the qualifier for them to make it onto your 3x5 book?
So, like for example, if they say, well, let's see, I mean, if they say, you know what, I'm planning back on the market in the next 2 weeks, we just wanted to take a break. Say, okay, great. You know, when you sell the home where you plan on moving to, and oh, we're going to downsize, you know, just a good conversation, or they gave me the motivation, they gave me their timeline, and they seem reasonably interested in selling their home. I always ask though, I say, hey, you know, if we could get your home sold in the next 30 days, would that be more beneficial to you, or would you want to wait? Sometimes I'll say, if we get your home sold in the next 10 days, would that be more beneficial to you, or would you prefer to wait? And it's a good question to temper like how motivated they are.
So you're looking for motivation and their timeline. And what is the timeline that you're not interested in following up every other day? What's the timeline, and how much motivation, again,
more than 30 days.
So you're looking for, so to make it on your 3x5, you know, golden book there that makes you a lot of money.
This is
they need to be thinking
magical, about magical tool.
So they've got to be wanting to sell in the next 30 days. And how do you gauge motivation? Is that just your gut, or is there if somebody was doing this for the very first time?
No, I asked them.
Okay. And they just say, I'm not that motivated. And you go, okay.
You know, part of the, yeah, well, I mean, let's be honest. The first 3 things they're going to say to you are all lies anyway. So I mean, it's the same thing like when you go into the store and you go shopping and they say to you, and you say, away from me, I don't need any help. But you know you're in there to buy something. You know exactly what to buy, and you know exactly they can help you. But it's that normal action. We don't want to be, you know, we don't want to be too excited about it at first, and we don't want to give away our cards, right? So you just have to know that the first 2 or 3 things that they say to you are going to be the next no. But you know, the line is that you can go and say, you know, Curtis, it sounds like that you guys still want to sell the property or sell the home. What's so important to you about getting the home sold, you know? And they still, after you've warmed up them a little bit and after they've talked to you a little bit, they'll tell you, you know. If they won't tell me why they're selling, I won't follow up with them.
Okay.
Because, I mean, there's no, you know, greed is not a motivation. Yes, granted, people will sell for greed, and that's okay. But the bottom line is that that's just not the clientele I'm looking for. And, you know, I'm looking for people that can help.
I like that. You know, you look at a lot of people, and the reason, yeah, if the why is greater, then it isn't about the money, and then you can finally price it in the right way and get it sold. So that's awesome. So motivation and timeline.
Yeah, I mean, even through this pandemic,
Sorry, I think there's a slight delay, and we keep talking over each other.
Even through the pandemic, I've been able to. That's okay. But anyway, so
go ahead.
Even during the pandemic, I've been able to sell 10 homes. Okay, so even during the pandemic, I've been able to sell 10 homes in the last 2 months. And, you know, several of them have been because the buyers have found a home that they want to move to, but then have to sell their house. So, I mean, that's always a great opportunity. Later, you know, they will do whatever it takes to get their home sold to get the other one, you know, and it's all about finding a solution for them.
Do you only call those people on your 3x5 car? I mean, are you texting, emailing, regular mail? What kind of follow-up plans do you have?
So this is a great question. So whenever I get a lead, immediately send them a text that just said, hey, thank you for taking the time to speak with me. I'd like to have a moment to introduce myself. Some people use BombBomb for the video. I keep saying I'm going to do that, but you can I'm kind of a nerd, so I haven't got that far yet. But I send them a text, and then on my text, it does have, see my other clients have to say, and it's got a collection. It's got a link there for my Zillow, so people can kind of take a look at that. So then after that, I send them a thank you card, or actually a thank you card, or actually have my assistant send a thank you card to them, just thanking them for taking the time to speak with me, and sending them a business card so that they have that. And then I call them the next day, and then set up a expectation. When I call them, Curtis, I say, hey, Curtis, it's Paula, your realtor. Wanted to just follow up with you and see when you planned on putting your home on the market and how I can help.
Your realtor.
They don't know that I'm already their agent.
So just again to play it back, and I'm sorry about the delay here, but to play it back is you after you are calling them, that's how you establish contact. You follow up immediately with a text, a written thank you card, and then you also put them on a call schedule. You're calling them every 2 days, asking them those 2 questions until they're ready or whatever.
Yeah, and if they say, oh no, we're not going to be ready for 2 weeks, then I call them back in a week, so I mean, it just depends on what their time, whatever they tell you, you just cut it in half.
That's good information. Well, look, I think there's some great information there. Again, all of these.
And then always, that's my fault. It's my fault. I always ask them, no matter what, if you could get it sold sooner, would you? If it would it benefit you to get it sold sooner? So we always ask them that, because they've made up whatever story in their mind they need to wait. But if it was a benefit to them, we need to push them. We need to be confrontational about that in a gentle way. It's still confrontational, because you want to see if you can move that lead along a little faster.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much for all of that. I want to give, I know we're running out of time here, and because of the delay, and it could be on my end, you never know with tech these days. I just want to ask you, because something we talked about pre-show is working with, like, one huge opportunity in the COVID world and what's going on in the marketplace right now is working with investors. And I know it's a total shift from what we've been talking about, and because of the delay, I just want to give it to you, give us all the knowledge you have about non-owner occupieds and working with investors.
Okay, so right now we have a great opportunity in working with investors. We have people who have multiple properties that may be over leveraged, that are not getting paid rent. I don't know what everybody's market is like, but here the rent moratorium on evictions started on the 15th of March and is going through the 1st of August. So if you think about that, by these people are able to evict, then you are literally talking about them going without rent for 6 months. And if you think about that on a very level of having more than one property, or maybe even this is their only investment property, and it was an accidental investment property, then it can be very challenging for them. So go through your tax records, pick out a zip code, get the non-owner occupants out of there, and get them, send them to REDX and get the phone number. Pull them out of the just listed, just sold. I mean, you can find them in every opportunity. The other thing is that in today's market, because of the COVID situation, vacant homes are selling at a rate of twice as fast occupied homes. in my market. So for every occupied home, two vacant homes are selling. And let's really think about this. To have an investor client who needs their home that's vacant, you have a, it's a, you don't have to meet with them in person. You can do a Zoom. You can send them the information, get the contract signed in 25 minutes, and then you get the key, and you don't have to schedule showing. You don't have to, it's an easy transaction, and you can do a lot of them very easily. So it's just a great opportunity for agents right now to be able to do that. Call the investors who have vacant properties. Little secret, look, as soon as this happened, I said, okay, how am I going to retool my business? I'm famous for retooling my business, but I said, where is the advantage in this market? I mean, of course, after I came out from my bed and stopped eating cheese, but I mean, where is the advantage in the market? And I said, okay, it's going to be with these non-owner occupied properties. And I literally went into the MLS and I pulled all the rentals that were vacant. And yes, they are represented by a property manager, but that property manager may or may not have a clause to be able to sell the property. And I put those into a database, and it took a little work finding the phone numbers. But once I found that, phone numbers, I uploaded them to the REDX and started calling them, and I was making 2 appointments a day calling non-owner occupieds. And they may not be ready right now, or they may be ready right now, you don't know, but the bottom line is that people who thought they were never ever going to sell their home, their investment property, are faced with challenges that they never ever thought they would have, and they're selling their properties.
It's amazing. So normally we don't jump into, products and things. But since you mentioned it, I mean, there's 2 things with our GeoLeads products. You can pull up a neighborhood, get all of the info of every household in the neighborhood, and then sort out the non-owner occupieds. You can do that right within the system, and it will show you the ones that are absentee owners or non-owner occupieds. And the other thing is for rent by owner. Those are captured when the rental property is vacant or about to be vacant. And so we have some of these things that could help exactly what Paula is talking about. So, and
I have a very simple script that I use.
Please share it.
And if we have a minute, I'd be happy to share it. So I'm going to role play it with because hopefully we won't have too much problem with the delay. But good morning, Curtis. It's Paula from Coldwell Banker. I'm calling about the home that you own over on Primrose Lane. Are you still the owner?
Yes, that's my house.
I saw that it's an investment property. Okay, great. I saw that it's an investment property. Is it currently rented or is it vacant?
I'm looking for a tenant now.
You are? Okay, great. I'm so glad to hear that. Just out of curiosity, how long have you owned?
8 years.
8 years. And has it always been an investment property for you, or have you lived in the property?
We lived there and bought a new house and kept it as an investment property.
Well, good for you. How long ago did you move out of it?
5 years ago.
5 years ago. Perfect. So, and sometimes there's an opportunity to talk to them about, without giving tax advice, but to talk to them about some opportunities that they may have to avoid the capital gains tax. Or I'll say, do you have any concerns about the current market or what's going on in the current market and your ability to rent the property?
Yeah, I'm nervous about people not being able to pay their rent with the high unemployment rates.
Right. Plus, they're not even required to pay rent. I mean, yeah, but you just can't, evict them. I mean, that's a challenging situation. Ask her, have you ever considered selling the property?
Yeah, I mean, we thought about it. I guess I don't even know what it's worth.
I'm happy to allow you some time in my schedule to be able to take a look at that and wanted to share with you, did you realize that vacant homes actually have a great advantage in today's market and are actually selling than homes that are occupied? If we could get you the right amount of money for this property, would you consider selling it now?
If I could get the right amount of money, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, then let me do this. I'm going to do a little research on the property, and if you could meet with me tomorrow at 4, or online, I'd be happy to share that information with you, make whatever decision is right for you. Does that sound fair?
That sounds great.
Okay, awesome. I look forward to talking to you tomorrow at 4.
Oh, that's good. And yeah, that's great.
People are, here's the thing, they're business people. They've not been harassed. I own 3 investment properties now, and in the past I was getting 5 pieces of mail a week on each property, right? And right now I may have gotten 5 pieces of mail in the last month. So no one is going after them. No one's calling them, So get out from under your beds and start, finding opportunities in the market.
That's amazing. Paula, thank you so much. Again, every guest we have on here, we could talk for hours and hours. Is there any last minute questions coming in that people wanted to ask? I know there's a lot that came through. I think we tried to cover them in the discussions quite a bit. But again, we'll continue the conversation either in our forum.theredx.com, or on Facebook. We have the Elite Prospector group, and you can jump on there, and we can always tag Paula in those. And if she's a Facebook junkie, then hopefully she'll see that and jump in. But Paula, thank you so much for your time and for being an example of what an agent should be doing, not just in this market, but how to create stability and find opportunity in everything that we're doing in our business. So thank you very much. For those of you that have been on, thank you again. We'd love for you.
No problem.
If you enjoyed the conversation, we'd love for you to put it in there, Paula. We've already have many people saying thank you, and people who have talked to you outside of on other things saying great information and thank you so much. And so if you have a chance to check those out, that's also great. For those of you that are listening, there was one I wanted to go back to. Paula talked about how she's always trying to resell hope. We ended up writing a blog with Paula about that very concept. I know some of you may have seen that, but we can go out there and put that in there. I think the blog is titled Reselling Hope, or if not, it's one of the headlines in there. So we can put that link for you also in that group. Thank you so much. On Friday at 1:30, we're going to be interviewing Jeremy Back, who has always loved the pre-foreclosure game. And I know that's a hot topic right now. We don't really know, there's no pre-foreclosures right now because there's no foreclosing right now. But as soon as that turns on, we kind of don't know what's going to happen in the marketplace. So it's a great skill to try to have. So if you could join us Friday at 1:30, everybody, with Jeremy Back, that would be great. Again, Paula, if people want to find you and connect with you, how do they do that?
Thank you, Curtis. I was going to say that. So first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for being here and, cheering me on and helping me help you guys. It's my honor to do so. Second of all, if you have any referrals coming to the Las Vegas area, you look like a rock star. You can reach me on my cell at 702-326-4901 or by my email at paulab@cbvegas.com. And those questions, send me, tag me in to anything on your Facebook, friend Facebook, whatever you do. I'm happy you guys get making it in this business. It's my honor to do so.
Thank you so much, Paula. Everybody, that's a wrap. We'll see you Friday at 1:30.